Whenever I meet somebody who's unfamiliar with my music and they ask me what record I would recommend to them as a starting point, I always recommend The Good Life because I think it's the most revealing record I ever made. In those days, I felt like I had like two different lives in some ways, because I was already selling out shows in a lot of these small bars, and was becoming somewhat well known, especially around Northeast Georgia. And then on Mondays I would go back into the classroom, and that year was the time when I noticed a lot of the students who were coming into my class already knew who I was because they had been hearing some of the music. And every once in a while, when I would go to a club and play, I would see some of my students, you know, had snuck in, and that always put me in a really, really awkward position. Like, what are you guys doing here? You're not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to know you're here.
Have you ever seen the Georgia sunset across the cool October sky? You know, it's like a little piece of heaven hung in.
There were certain songs on that record that were really almost effortless to write. I really started just letting go and not listening to my inner critic. And I would just spill out a whole bunch of stuff and not judge myself.
We forget about our troubled yesterdays. Oh, it all makes sense to me. That's harmony.
I had a hard time deciding whether or not to put the song Leaving an Angel on the record because it was so personal.
But I dropped this line to say goodbye. You should have saw it coming. Guess I was born for running.
The song's about a grandfather that I never really knew. He ran off when my dad and his brother and sister were really young, way before I was born, and left my grandmother with 3 kids to raise on her own. And she worked 2 jobs and did what she had to do to raise her family without a dad there. The song Leaving an Angel was sort of me inventing what his side of the story might be. You know, I kind of imagined that he had left a letter and what the letter might say.
I'm taking the pickup truck, but I left a little bit of money. No, it ain't too much, but it'll get you through the month ahead.
I was really happy with the way the song turned out. I felt like I had one of the best vocal takes on the record on that song, and we thought it would be nice to have a female background singer. And at the time, Lee was doing some touring with Ty Herndon, and Thompson Square at the time actually was in Ty's band. So Shauna Thompson, you know, of Thompson Square, actually sang the background vocals on that song. He got her to sing it. And this was several years before they signed their deal with Stony Creek and have gone on to have such success. But that's a little feather in the cap there that I have her singing background on the song. She sounds great on it too. She really does.
Oh, and when I'm gone, I hope you mention my name. I hope you care about the man.
Single Wide Home, which is one of my favorite songs on the record, which is just about the mobile home that I lived in when I was a little kid, and I used it to tie into all the changes that, you know, went through over the course of my childhood, I guess. And this is actually the little mobile home we lived in when we were kids. Not in the greatest shape now, but back in the day it was all right. It was all we needed.
It was a single wide home on a dead-end gravel road, the backside of my granddaddy's land.
Yep, that was our first house. I remember writing The Good Life sitting in the spare bedroom back there, sitting alone in my 3-bedroom home a mile east of where I was raised. Can't get more literally true than that.
I'm sitting alone in my 3-bedroom home a mile east of where I was raised.
At the tail end of the song The Good Life, you can hear a baby crying, and that's actually my son Aiden when he was 3 or 4 months old. I wanted to get some audio of him giggling. You know, there's nothing like the sound of a baby laughing, you know, and I thought that would be just a great little period on the end of the record, having a baby's laughter. but we couldn't get him to laugh, so we had him crying. And I thought, well, maybe there's some irony in there or something, so we kept it. Funny story, when he was about 3, I remember playing him the record, and that song ended and the baby started crying, and he was in the back seat and he started crying. It like really upset him, and I don't know if on some level he recognized his own cry or just maybe just the sound of a baby crying upset him, but it was the weirdest thing. And then we did that several other times after that, and whenever he heard that baby cry, it always upset him. It was bizarre.
Daddy bought my first guitar and he said, boy, you were born to play and sing, and now I take my pen and capture these little bits of everything.
There's a purity to that record that I don't think I'll ever be able to recapture it entirely. Just a really special time in my life, and in the early stages of my music career. I'm very grateful that I was able to make the record, and I'm even more grateful that so many people went out and bought the record and shared the record with each other.
That's harmony.